Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another wonderful edition of Guy Aitchison's Reinventing the Tattoo Community, where artists, apprentices, tattooers, collectors, and the curious are encouraged to join in these live streams and real world events to share and inspire and ultimately create better art and tattoos together. We beam out nearly every day, and with your help, have evolved into a quality network of amazing live and on demand tattoo and art shows that have all been receiving rave reviews. Sorry about that. You are currently watching the Sunday afternoon drawing group with me, Jason Leeser, which is hosted every Sunday at 1 p.m. Artists, feel free to join the Zoom by clicking on the link in the events area. If it's your first time Zooming in, you could win a limited run t-shirt. You might be beaming in from YouTube or Facebook or listening to the podcast, but you can always get the latest event schedule and notifications at the official Reinventing the Tattoo community. Found at both app stores, the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store, or directly at community.reinventingthetattoo.com. This is working for you. Please let us know in the comments and the chats, and please tag a friend who loves tattoos. All Reinventing the Tattoo Network shows, art jams, drawing groups, interviews, panels, webinars, seriously, all of it can be enjoyed on demand and found in the library, as well as the YouTube and podcast channels. There are countless tattoo and art rabbit holes for you to dive into. It's perfect for the front room of your studio or to entertain your tattoo clients as they're getting worked on. In fact, we're beaming out 4 channels, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. To access that, you can go to reinventing247.com. We have some weekly staple shows we always encourage everyone to tune into, starting on Sundays at 1 p.m. with me, Jason Leeser, followed by the Tattoo Weekly, which is usually hosted Sunday evenings at 9 p.m. We actually have a special event going on today at 5 p.m., and that is the holiday edition of the Drunk Critique. You can email submissions to geta@drunkcritique.com. Mondays at 9 a.m. we have the early bird drawing group with Kier, directly followed by a Monday evening 9 p.m. drawing group, which is a subscribers exclusive drawing group with Guy Aitchison himself, where we try to tackle certain aspects of art and design that, might always be a little bit tricky and we might always need to brush up on. Tuesdays at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, we have a live drawing group with Ricardo Sertivant, very good friend of mine and incredibly talented artist and tattooer, followed by Wednesdays at 12 noon with the Tattoo Now show hosted by Gabe Ripley. Thursdays at 10 a.m., we have a subscribers exclusive drawing group with Kier, which is more focused on fundamentals. All skill levels and apprentices are encouraged to attend. Thursdays at 12 noon, we have the Tattoo Collecting Podcast with Fawn Baker and Jordan Ruckus, where different people from around the world can beam in and share some of the stories about their tattoo collection. We have a few real world events coming up, starting in February 5th and 6th. We have Reinventing the Tattoo Live from the Red Tree and True Tubes, the Red Tree Gallery and True Tubes headquarters in Columbus, Ohio, where we will be doing some live art jams. There's going to be some seminars, maybe some live tattooing. There's going to be a lot more information about that coming up, so please stay tuned. April 11th through 14th, we have the New Hampshire Inspiring Tours with Sean Barber and Nick Baxter. You can get the information on that at http://inspiring.tours to get on the wait list for the next one next year. Essentially, Sean Barber and Nick will take a select small group of artists out and work on them, with oil painting and talk about different types of art and design. It's actually really, really great time. May 20th through 22nd, we have the Hell City Columbus Tattoo Convention, hosted by Derb from the Red Tree Gallery. June 3rd through 5th, 2022, we have the new Deadly Tattoo Convention in Calgary, Canada, which is gearing up to be an absolutely incredible show. July 8th through 10th, 2022, we have the Rock River Tattoo Art Expo with a whole bunch of different Reinventing the Tattoo track artists at an amazing venue this year. And it's super easy to get to from anywhere in the world. July 29th through 31st, 2022, we have the Rubber City Tattoo Invitational in Akron, Ohio with Tony Urbanek. And we're still waiting on some of the details, but it looks like the Paradise Gathering will be back in full force next October. Please stay tuned for more dates and information on that. At this point in time, I'd like to go through and thank some of our sponsors, some of the people that make this happen. So I'd like to start by introducing Inkjet Stencils. Print stencils directly from your mobile phone or your computer or your tablet. Save your time, save your hands, save your apprentices' hands. They offer free webinars, and they will be more than happy to provide you with free samples. I've had the opportunity to use these, and there's nothing easier than being able to print out a photograph, stencil it on someone's skin, and just start tattooing. It's absolutely incredible. Highly recommend you take a look at Inkjet Stencils. Next, we have Interstate Ink LA. Many of you may know Church from his awesome custom sneakers on Instagram. His studio is seeking resident and guest artists, all clean and sober. If you are an artist in recovery, looking for a supporting studio, or you know someone that needs one, please do not hesitate to reach out to Interstate Ink LA on Instagram. Next, we have Raw Pigments, a company that's tapping into the source, rawpigments.co. These are vegan-friendly, acrylic-free, more like old-school powder pigments. You really can't beat them. I've started introducing a whole bunch of them into my own personal lineup, and I absolutely love them. Next, we have worldtattooevents.com, the largest, most comprehensive resource for tattoo events worldwide. Because of all of the stuff going on with shutdowns and different events getting postponed here and there, it's always best to stay up to date on the latest and greatest convention information and event information by going to worldtattooevents.com. Next, we have DLize Pro, also known as Dermalize Pro in the rest of the world. Thank you, international copyright laws. Protect your art. If you're still using cling wrap to wrap your tattoos at the end of a session, it's time to step your game up. This stuff is specifically designed to heal tattoos. It is absolutely incredible. I've noticed my tattoos healing better and faster than ever before. It's absolutely amazing stuff. Highly recommend you try it. Tattoo Now, technology for tattooers. The leading edge in SEO and professional development for tattooers of all levels, and they're now accepting new clients. So if you're really trying to expand your client base to be the biggest and best that it can be, well, this is how you would do it. Get in touch with Tattoo Now, and they will make sure that you are connected to all of the people that you want to have as your potential clients. And of course, this wouldn't be Reinventing the Tattoo without thanking Guy Aitchison. Thank you very much for everything that you have done for this community. You can reach out to him at tattooeducation.com or guyaitchison.com, where you can pick up a copy of his Biomech Encyclopedia. It's not too late to get it in time for Christmas. As well as all of his DVDs. He's got some custom tattoo coil machines, as well as several different oil paintings, all for sale at guyaitchison.com. Would also like to go through and take a second to thank two of our affiliates, the Fireside Tattoo Network and the Apprenticeship Diaries. Those of you that might know the Fireside Tattoo Network, hosted by Jake Meeks, it's an absolutely incredible, unbelievable, valuable information on there. And if you don't know about it, you should probably take a look. For those of you still trying to break into the industry, maybe you're still trying to get your foot in the door or get that apprenticeship that you've always wanted. Well, if you want some advice on that, take a look at the Apprenticeship Diaries, the podcast. It's absolutely incredible. It's hosted by Amy Nichols, very good friend of mine, absolutely inspirational person. and she walks you through like what you can expect, what should be provided, what you shouldn't put up with, which is something I was never taught. So definitely want to take a look at that if you're still trying to get your feet wet in this industry and learn how to tattoo the right way. Okay. And so, as always, please make sure to leave a positive review, like, and subscribe. Help us get the word out. If you like the information that's being put forth on these different webcasts, please let us know by making it known on these social media platforms. We're really trying to grow a presence, and it's any little bit you can do is always appreciated. So without further ado, let's get this party started. And I'm going to turn the waiting room off to allow other people to come in. Looks like we have Atomic with us. What's up, Atomic? And Scarline. How's it going, guys? You guys will need to join the audio conference if you're still here. Let's see. Yep, by all means, please feel free to go through and join the audio portion. There you go. Sorry, I'm kind of like a one-man band over here trying to manage everything. Elisa, hello, welcome. Atomic, what's up, homie?
What's happening?
Not too much. Hey, Elisa, how's it going?
Hey, it's good. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Thanks for jumping in and joining us today. So what do you guys have going on this week?
Some remodeling.
What was that?
Some remodeling.
Oh, remodeling. That's always fun. Yeah, I tried that once and had to completely rearrange like everything, and it was a nightmare. It took me like a year to recover from that brilliant idea. I got so mixed up with where I put everything while I was remodeling. It was absolutely like, I don't know. I just wasn't having it, to be honest with you.
I've never been on the end of receiving the remodel.
Yeah. But I'm back to work on this guy. I'm going to see if I can't get a little bit more done on it today. Was working on it a little bit the other day, and then I'll probably be working on this for about half of today's session, and then I'm going to switch over to digital, and I'm going to start working on getting this Japanese phoenix drawn up for tomorrow's session. So it should be an absolute blast. And I think, I know that a lot of different people have had this discussion before, but I find it to be super important to work in a second medium outside of, what we normally work in as far as tattooing is concerned. Some people might prefer to work digitally, and that's fine. Creating digital art is an art in and of itself. It's actually pretty tricky considering all of the options you have available. I'm one of those, I guess you could almost say I'm like a purist. I prefer to work analog, but I do find that working digitally is just so much faster.
For sure.
But to me, I can't get away from working with like, oils or watercolors or liquid acrylics or anything like that. Like I can't stop working in it. I absolutely love it. And I don't know why either. But
It's like a little break from work.
It really is. You know, I've been finding myself lately being like, I really just want to whip out a sketchbook, and just like start sketching by hand and just hanging up more like handmade art at the studio. Cause like, I can make my own prints and stuff like that. I have, a full professional, like, professional grade, like printer. So I do run my own prints. So if I design digital artwork, that's awesome. And I can always print that off and, hang that up. But there's something about seeing like an original painting, hanging up in a studio that I don't know. There's something about it I just always love. So I've been trying to get back more to my roots and get back more to that muscle memory of like just drawing and painting more by hand. And I don't know, it's proving to be a challenge because I can't remember. So like I'm working in oils right now.
Same.
It has been 12 years, 15 years since I've ever touched oil paints. And it is way different than what I remember it being. I don't know. Maybe I've just grown up a little bit. I doubt that. I'm still 15 in my mind.
I painted quite a bit until a couple years ago when I got into tattooing, and I haven't painted for about a year, and I've been feeling guilty about it.
Yep.
Like I've been busy doing tattooing, so that's
Right.
fair. And at the same time, like I'll look around and be like, oh, I haven't painted anything for about 6 months. I should get back to it. And it is a completely different feel. It's nice. It's refreshing.
It is. It's almost like you're getting back to your roots,
Mm.
But I mean, there's something to be said for the yes, technically tattooing is painting on skin, right? I mean, we're working with color palettes. We're taking all different types of design elements into account for what we're doing. So like, some people would call it painting on skin. Other people might not. They might consider it more of like a graphic art, which I don't necessarily agree with, but I think it's
way too
all art
prevalent.
at the end of the day. It's just a different medium.
Yeah.
Just trying to get this camera rearranged. I swear I need like a dedicated place for these cameras. Ugh. Well, it kind of stinks when you're trying to go through and do like a multi-camera shoot, but it gets complex. But Elisa, let me ask you a question. Have you noticed a almost like a correlation between the artwork that you create and the tattoos that you produce?
I do. Like I've noticed if I make up for grabs designs digitally, they do tend to come out a little different than if I draw them by hand. So, and I've been kind of in a rut lately. I haven't been drawing as much up for grabs as I would like. I work at a walk-in shop, so like we kind of take whatever. And if you want to do the things that you want to do, it's really important to have your own. You have your own up for grabs and available stuff so that people actually know what you like. So I've just been getting back into doing that on paper. So, and I do find that the designs come out a little bit more natural, like the flow is a little nicer than if I build everything on Procreate. So this one I'm going to post today, actually. I'm really excited about it. So like it's an
That's
output with some
awesome.
florals. Thank you. And it's
subtleties
it's like
that you have
pencil.
in that are amazing.
Thank you very much. So I did a fair bit of
yeah.
illustration and painting before I got into tattoo. So it was nice to have that background, but even stuff like trying to design stuff for the body and to have the shapes, like I'm just getting through the fit and flow section of Guy's course. And it's spotlighted stuff that I'm like, I think on some level you're instinctually aware of, but like don't know for sure that that's a good guideline or a rule. So I've been designing a lot more stuff with like more S curves and more flow to them, so that they'll work better on different places on the body. I think I'm like at 3% through the course already, and I've been yelling about it to everyone else I know that they should take it.
Right. So I first bought Guy's book probably 15 years ago, back when it was like the first edition that he had out. Right. It was this 3-ring binder, and you got it. And each one was personally signed, and it was great. It was nice. But it blew my mind how it was saying things in such a way that it was like I knew that I knew it. I just didn't have the words to describe the fact that I knew some of it. If that makes any
I've seen
sense.
more experienced artists in my shop just build stuff like they'll freehand, and they follow the fit and flow rules without knowing what they are.
Right.
Because it is just following all the organic shapes in the body. But there's something about seeing it laid out and explained, like having it explained, like seeing smoke move through a glass model of a body, that just made way more sense to me.
Right.
Than trying to internalize and guess from what I was seeing.
Yeah, I will give Guy the absolute 100% credit for that. He is so unbelievably good at explaining himself and explaining things in a way that people can understand. That, I would, like, I spent time in art school, and I would never have made it through that if it wasn't for Guy's book. It explained things way better than a lot of these, art professors that I had that, oh, well, I've got art fellowships to here and here, and, I know this and I know that. And it's like, that's great, but you're still not explaining anything, but Guy's book does. And it's awesome.
Well, I went to post-secondary in the 90s, and the school I went to had art classes, but they were all conceptual.
Okay. Okay.
So they weren't teaching a lot of technique. They were teaching a lot of, well, this is how you can build concepts and explain what you're doing. And I came out of these classes going, great, like I can apply for a grant, but I don't really like the work I'm making on a technical level. Like, it doesn't look nice, and I couldn't figure out why. I gave up on art for a really long time. And then when I came back to it, it was going through like different individual classes where they would teach like techniques on, this is how you draw a portrait, here's how you can mirror something, here's how the grid works, like here's how to check your grayscale, like all that technical stuff. And I find that Guy's course is kind of along the same lines.
Absolutely.
But the school I went to wasn't an art focused school. It did offer an art program, so that might be the difference there. But I'm finding that that's not uncommon. Some people I find have gone through art school and they've come out amazing, and some people have come out and they didn't get the technique that they were looking for, that they wanted. They didn't get the direction that they were looking for.
So I completely and totally see where you're coming from with that. I went to an art school where it, once again, much like yourself, it was very, very concept focused, and it wasn't very technique focused. It didn't really go through and teach you like, okay, well, if you want to achieve this kind of an effect using this medium, you're going to need this kind of a brush. You're going to want to hold it like this. You're going to want to do it like that. You're going to want to add this in. You're going to want to, stay away from this because it's not going to give you the look that you want. It was very, very, what is art? Why are we here? How can we make art again?
Yeah.
And it was very conceptual in that aspect. And that's cool and all. Like, yeah, it teaches you to think outside the box, but that's not what I wanted out of art school. I wanted someone to sit down and be like, cool, today we're going to start talking about dry brush technique, right? And we're going to get into dry brushing and how you can use dry brushing to create a very soft, very realistic effect, right? Cool, you have my attention, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But not this whole like, we're going to teach you how to do the exact same thing that everyone else does, but in a different way, because that's conceptual art.
We're going to teach you how to explain that this pile of planks that are glued together represent capitalism.
Right. And there were a few people that I went to art school with that I called them professional bullshitters, because like I've been bullshitting papers and stuff like that throughout all of my schooling, all of it. Like I can bullshit with the best of them. I can come up with a rationale to explain almost anything, right? That's not what I was looking for. I was looking for technique. I was looking for critiques. What do I need to focus on? How can I achieve certain things on a technical level? You
Yeah,
know?
I did not come out with a usable portfolio, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, me either.
So
Their idea of teaching portrait painting was, well, just have your friends sit down and paint them all the time. You'll eventually get it.
yeah,
And it's like, that's not helping me.
it's painful. It's,
I mean, it is
I'm sorry
helping in
that
a
you're
sense
experiencing
that,
well.
you know, I understand the concept of learning by doing, right? You
Mhm.
will eventually get it. You will, you know, and I completely, you know, acknowledge that. You know, I've become a huge fan of that method because there are certain things that you have to learn through experience, and you have to remember the way that your muscles move when you create a specific shape or a specific, you know, type of form, you know. So I do acknowledge that. And it's something that I've really started to imagine more, but understanding the concept behind that is what, you know, I struggled with. It's like, okay, well, I can paint a self-portrait. I know how to do that because I look at myself in the mirror and I paint what I see. But why does my face look the way that it does proportionally?
Mhm.
You know, why are my ears situated where my ears are situated? How can I make sure that if I'm not looking at myself and I want to draw a human head, how can I make sure that my ear is in the right place? Right? Teach me
Agreed.
these things. And you know, eventually I came across a few mentors in the tattoo world that, you know, really sat me down and explained a few things to me that really made all the difference in the world. Um, and it really, really helped just get me back on track as far as what I wanted to be, where I wanted to be, and what I needed to do to improve. You know, it's
No,
all about
definitely.
taking that first step and putting yourself out there too. You can't be afraid of critiques.
Yeah, I'm honestly a little bit afraid to jump into live streams like this, because you are kind of exposing yourself, but it is important to get past that, get over it, and share. And no one's deliberately trying to hurt you. It's all intended to help you grow.
I mean, don't get me wrong. There are plenty of assholes out there that are just out there to beat people down and, you know, to criticize them and make fun of them and just basically tell them that they should stop doing whatever they're doing just because they've been doing it for so long. Doesn't mean that they're any good. They've just been doing it for so long that that's the only way that they can make money. You know, so it's like, okay, well, if I can't beat the next guy, I'm just going to beat them down until they decide to quit. You know, there are plenty of old school people out there like that. I know, I used to work for one of them. You know, it's not healthy. But if we never put ourselves out there, we're never going to learn,
Agreed.
you know. And this is a very friendly community and we're all here to help each other. We're all here to progress and we're all here to get better. You know, I know for a fact I'm not the best tattoo artist in the world. Not yet, at least. I'll get there one day.
Speaking
But
of, do you happen to know where we can send in for the drunk critique?
I believe they are still accepting submissions. Let me pull up that. In fact, maybe I'll go ahead and share that website. Uh, hmm. So I don't know if it's going to be live streamed on the actual website. I don't think the website's been updated in a little while, but I'll share the website in just a second. By the way, for those of you that don't know about Drunk Critique, it is probably one of the most hysterically informative things I've ever watched. I mean, just watching a whole bunch of world famous tattooers sit down and critique things, critique your artwork when they're completely loaded is absolutely hysterical. The rants that ensue and everything. Oh, it's great.
I'm going to be tattooing tonight when they do that live stream, but I'm going to try to tune in and see if my client will let us watch.
Yeah, try not to watch or try not to laugh too hard while you're in the middle of a tattoo. It can be very, very distracting. So this is the Drunk Critique website. Pay no attention to like the dates and times. They are doing one tonight at 5 p.m. And there is a submit button up here in the upper right corner.
Okay.
Oh, perfect.
There's also an email address over here, which is geta@drunkcritique.com. Yeah, your best bet is to email them.
Yeah.
Although I'm pretty sure clicking on the submit button is going to do the same thing.
Yeah. Very
Submit to
cool.
Drunk Critique. And whatever you do, do not ask them to be gentle.
Oh no.
I did that. I made that mistake before, and it did not go over very well.
Oh,
I was like, "Oh, here you go. Please be gentle." And oh man, they pointed out everything. They
and
were
the riot
merciless.
ensued.
They were merciless. And Dave, the guy that usually hosts it, actually, made a comment in there, and he's like, here we go. Here's one from Jason. He says, "Please be gentle." And Jason, I'm sorry, but this is not the place for being gentle. This is the place for brutal, unadulterated, inebriated honesty. So, and I learned.
damn.
But there were also a lot of other things that were covered in that Drunk Critique, and tiny little tidbits of information that were absolutely astounding, when people would go through and critique other work. So sometimes you kind of have to go through and read between the lines with some of the information that's given and some of the advice that's given out. I know in the last one, they were actually going back and forth. I believe it was Joe Capobianco had made a comment about, small, tight spaces and the overuse of white. And then someone else had jumped in and chimed in and said, but by using white in the right amounts in the right areas, it can actually help hold a small, tight space open a lot longer to help preserve those tiny spaces merging together over time.
Right.
Because it creates almost like a tiny little barrier
Its
to
own.
prevent that
Right.
black from moving together and blurring in. And that was something that I had never realized. So I'm learning new things all the time as far as that's concerned. And then Bob Tyrell, of course, had to go through after drinking copious amounts of Jack Daniels, and showed off this Vampirella on his, I think it was his right thigh, that was almost 20 years old, done in a fine line with like the smallest lips and eyes I think I've ever seen on a tattoo. And it still held beautifully.
Really?
Absolutely beautifully. So like there is a logical reasoning behind doing some of these things. Sometimes we just need to be keyed into it.
Yep. And I don't mind being ripped a new one. I feel like I need it.
Well, for your sake, man, I would pray that Joe Kappa's not on there.
Yeah.
Although he is by far one of the most entertaining people on any of the Drunk Critiques.
Yeah.
Like I watch it specifically to see Joe Cap go off. I do. I'm not even gonna lie.
Oh, yeah.
It's hysterical. I mean, the man makes very, very valid points, but he comes from a very different time in tattooing.
Oh, yeah.
You
Just a
know,
sap.
but oh, he is brutal, absolutely brutal. I think, and I could be wrong. I could be wrong here, but I think I remember him saying something about someone should just stop and give up now while they still had a chance to do something else for a living.
Oh, damn.
You know, and it's like, whoa, okay, that was pretty harsh. You know, I'm the kind of guy that sits back and laughs at it
Right.
and, you know, acknowledges the information, thanks them for it. In fact, when Joe actually went through and critiqued my work, I sent him a message the next day and thanked him for his honesty.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You know, people are always happy to say nice things. It is really, it can be really hard to give honest feedback.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, none of us are trying to be mean people. Well, I don't know. I think Atomic might be, but you know, I kind of expect that from him now. You're like, no, I'll be the designated asshole. That's cool.
Yeah.
You know, but it's like none of us, I know myself in general, I'm not a very mean person. I'm not. I know this. I've been called way too nice too many times.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not that I'm not being honest. It's just that I really do not enjoy hurting people's feelings. I feel like an absolute scumbag when I do. And I know that's not me, but sometimes you do have to be honest, you know, and honesty sometimes can hurt because without brutal honesty, we can't really grow as artists. And we
Right.
need someone that has been doing it for 20, 30, 40 years to sit down
push
and
us in the
with
right
us and
direction.
say, listen, this is good. This is not good. This is what you need to work on.
Right.
You know, it's actually why I'm really excited to go to the Explorer Tattoo Conference in Philadelphia this year. For those of you that don't know about the Explorer Conference, they have pretty much an all-star lineup every conference with some of the world's best tattoo artists, where they will go through and they will do portfolio critiques and reviews. They'll talk about different, you know, creative subjects, time management, how to maximize your time, how to, you know, make the most out of your week as far as value for your dollar. You know, how to really go through and, you know, become a very successful tattoo artist. On this year's lineup, they have guys like Russ Abbott, Mike Chambers, BJ Betts, Kyle Cotterman, Teresa Sharp. She'll be there. Kelly Dottie's going to be there. It's going to be an incredible, incredible conference.
Is that the one that's quite a small conference? It's only 4 or 5
It's-
people.
Yeah, it's pretty
Yeah.
small. It's not, they're not going to have like thousands of people that attend it. I'm pretty sure it's usually less than 100 people actually go every year, but it's well worth it.
And that's in, is that in February or when is that one happening?
So that is in the beginning of March this year. It's the
Okay.
3 days directly following the Philadelphia Tattoo Convention.
Okay.
And I believe that is the,
Yeah, that's
Philly
the end
is-
of February.
yeah, end of February. I think it's like the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd of March or something like that. It's it's looking like it's going to be an incredible show. But they will do portfolio critiques. They'll do one-on-one sit downs and, you know, small group advice sessions on what you can do to really improve your work. You know, maybe you need help with line work. Maybe you need help with understanding contrast and value. Maybe you need help with color theory. You know,
All of it.
maybe you need help with lettering, you know, It's all there. And it's very straightforward, very honest, but very, very focused small groups. And that I find personally to be the most beneficial for me.
Definitely.
You know, I know that when it's a smaller group of artists that are together, you can really start to understand some of the things that you might need to work on more than if you were one person out of 600.
Yeah.
But yeah, highly recommend to anyone that's interested in going. I'll be there. If anyone that is going is watching this, hit me up, let me know. We'll all go out to dinner. You know, I know a couple of really, really awesome restaurants in Philadelphia because I live in the suburbs, so I'm down there every now and then. But yeah, if anyone wants to get together, you know, while the Explorer Tattoo Conference is going on, please get in touch, let me know. And, you know, we'll see if we can't organize some kind of a group dinner or group get together. Maybe a group art jam. That'd be cool.
Oh yeah.
You know, that's something else I've always found to be very, very beneficial is getting together with other artists. Even if they work in different mediums than you do, it's always nice to get another artist's perspective on what you're doing.
Mhm.
You know, maybe they'll have like an insight or a tip or a trick that you've never even thought of, but you don't know until you get together with them.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, Atomic, we still got to plan out a day and time for me to come down and visit so that I
Yeah,
can
for
go
sure.
over making needles with you.
Absolutely.
What we're going to need is 2/5 of Jack Daniels to
That's
start.
not gonna be hard to get.
That's to start. Okay. We're probably going to need about 4 days. Well, first day, I'm probably just going to get plastered.
Right.
And yell at you for a whole bunch of nonsensical things like, why are you wearing your right shoe on your right foot? You know,
Mr. Miyagi style.
yeah, pretty much. You know, and then we're going to break out the liquid flux and fry some brain cells.
Hell yeah.
You know, and then I'm probably going to yell at you and tell you that you're not inhaling enough flux.
Right. Get right over it.
Oh, you need to feel it singeing your brain. If you're not that close to the liquid flux, you're not doing it right. You know, well, but I mean, there's a lot of other stuff to consider as well on a serious note, like,
Oh yeah.
you know, pin size, taper length, you know, how that can impact your work, you know, how loose or how tight your grouping is can have a dramatic impact on your work.
And see, that's got so much to do with why I want to learn it.
Yeah, it's incredible because when you talk to some of these old school guys about like, oh, well, I use a tight 5 liner, and they're like, why would you use a tight 5? Why would you do that? You know, why not just use a 3? You know, maybe you have an answer for that. Maybe they have a better answer for you. Maybe they have a reason why you should never use one. I've used them before. I kind of like them, but there is there is a technical reason why you shouldn't really use needles that are too tightly configured. And it's something that I learned this year at the Paradise BYOB when Mark Lascarbo from Needle Jig actually gave us a presentation, and he did a whole seminar on needles, needle configurations, you know, mags, curved mags versus straight mags, pin tapers and lengths, solder distance, you know, how that will impact everything, you know, tights versus mediums versus loose versus straights, you know, all of these like super awesome, like technical details that can really have a major impact on everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. He even gave us like a little handout that's pretty cool. Basically going over all the information that he covered, but it was insightful to say the least. How the diameter of the pin and the taper length of, for example, let's say you've got an extra long taper, number 12 pin, right?
Yeah.
Well, that extra long taper number 12 pin, believe it or not, at some point in time on that taper length will actually be the exact same size as a number 8 bug pin or a number 10 bug pin.
Right.
So depending on what you're using, what you have available, the amount of needle hang that you have out, what your technique is like, what your needle depth is like, it almost doesn't even make sense to buy something of a different needle diameter, And I mean, don't get me wrong. I use number 10s, number 8s, and number 9s all the time.
Yeah.
That's my preferred pin diameter. I just find
Yeah.
it causes less trauma. But I also know people that use standard number 12 medium tapers for everything, and they're killing it
Yeah.
with no skin trauma or hardly any, flawless healing, no scabbing. Like that's what they use, and they've learned how to use it.
And see, I really like using the standards on bigger people, people I'd say 225 and bigger. It seems to do better for the pores of their skin for me to use a larger diameter needle.
Yeah, I mean, I prefer to use those when it comes down to like single pass color saturation.
Yeah.
If I'm not doing a whole bunch of blending, I'll break out a number 12 medium taper, nothing crazy, and just single pass, solid, and move on.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit there and blend like 8 colors and go over it again and again and again. I'm not going to do that because the skin's going to be too traumatized after 2 passes with a medium taper that would be counterproductive. You'd just end up chewing them up.
For sure.
Long tapers are a little bit of a different story. Long tapers, you can get away with, more passes, but it's like how many times should you really be going over an area is the bigger question.
Right.
But that also breaks down into a philosophy of, are you solving all of your problems in advance to work out all of these issues? Or are you just kind of going off the cuff and, just seeing where things go, because each methodology will have a different result. I'm a planner. I really, really enjoy planning things out, solving my color choices in advance, solving my light source and my tones. And, before I ever touch someone's skin, I already have an idea in my mind of how I want it to look because I've already thought about it so much and worked out all of the issues of, okay, well, if I want to go for this kind of a look with this piece based on their request, then I know I need to do this, 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 and this in order to achieve that. So that's the way I can gear my work. But it's already figured out before they even come in for their tattoo. I know other people that are more like, I don't know, we're going to figure it out as we go.
Yep, thriving in the chaos.
I don't know, maybe I just have a tendency to overthink everything. I'm pretty sure that's actually it. But I like to know all of my options. I like to know that when I go into a piece, I know what I need to do and how I need to execute it.
And see, I feel like you can be a lot more efficient that way.
And that's
Yeah.
something that
if you're just running off chaos, what kind of efficiency are you really going to come up with?
well, that's one thing I was talking to my friend Rich about, Rich Wren. I went and did a live tattoo broadcast with him a couple of months ago at his studio while he was tattooing his coworker's head. And it was fascinating just to pick his brain about, okay, well, you're drawing by hand 3 different versions of the same concept for each client.
Yeah.
Working out all of the bugs in advance so that way when they come in, they have options, right?
Mhm.
How did that impact what he does, during his tattoo? He's like, oh, I don't even have to think about it. I already know exactly how I want everything to look because I've already drawn it 6 times, 3 times in my mind before I ever put pencil to paper, and another 3 times physically by hand. He's like, I have all of the bugs worked out. That's why I work so efficiently, because I don't have to think about things. I don't have to make decisions on the fly. I just do it.
Have you ever watched Jake's interview with, I forget his full name, The Superstition?
Maybe. I've watched pretty much
Really
all of
good.
Jake's videos,
Yeah.
so there's a pretty good chance
For some
watched
reason,
it.
the way he discussed his designing the elephant, that I guess was what he was doing that week. And I thoroughly enjoyed that interview, him talking about his process.
Well, I think that's something that each of us has, which is unique to ourselves, is our specific, unique tattoo process. It's what makes my work, your work, and Elisa's work, her work, right? It's our process that really ultimately determines the outcome of the piece, how it looks, how it heals, what decisions get made, and all of these fine little details. It really ultimately, that's why James Tex can turn around and bang out a full color sleeve in 11 hours flat.
Right.
Start to finish, 11 hours, and it's done. And it's saturated, like fully saturated.
I'm still quite new at this, so I like to have as much planned beforehand as possible.
Right.
Because then there's too many factors to think about when the client's actually in the chair. If they're a little bit more difficult to tattoo or something else is going on, I don't have to worry about the design part at least.
Exactly.
I've
It's
done it a
one
few
less
times and-
thing, one less variable, And I
To
think
me,
that's
A lot of
something.
people who work that way where they're able to just do it on the fly. And I've talked about that with them and gone, how is that a thing you can do? And they find if they overplan, then it's a problem for them.
Right.
I can definitely see that too. Because then I go getting in my head and I'll run through all kinds of different color scenarios, and it just it can be too much.
I find I can pigeonhole myself too. If I've thought about it too much, then I won't consider another solution that might work better. But for the stage I'm at right now, I certainly feel better if I'm going in with more, going in more prepared.
Yeah, especially for your first, I want to say, few years of tattooing. Preparation is everything. It really, really is, because that preparation is going to lay the foundational groundwork for how you work throughout the rest of your career.
Yeah, definitely.
You're going to grow here and there. You're going to expand off of what your process is. But when you have a set process that for a fact works really, really well for you, I do a lot of designing in advance digitally. I'll send various types of mock-ups and rough shapes and flows to clients, get an idea if they like the way that everything's going to flow and the direction it's going to head in.
Mhm.
and get their feedback from them, based off of that before I put too much time into a finalized drawing. I find that works really well with a lot of my clients.
With mine,
Other
I
people,
find,
what?
oh, sorry, I find that during the consult, I'm usually able to give them a super rough of
Right.
like, this is kind of how it'll look. Cool, I can go off that. They send me references of what they like, and then I can decide on that. But I'm sorry, please go ahead.
Yeah, I have a lot of clients that come to me and just say, hey, like, for example, Tuesday, I'm working on a Japanese style Phoenix cover up. Came in for the consult, was talking to them about that. Like, okay, cool. You want a Phoenix. That's all you said in your message. We got you in. You came in, you're willing to put a deposit down. We set up an appointment. Awesome. But what kind of a Phoenix? Did you want something more realism? Did you want something more Japanese? Did you want something, more representational or cubist?
Mhm.
Like, number one, I don't think I've ever seen a cubist Phoenix, so maybe that doesn't exist. But I mean, the concept is there, right?
Yeah.
So by sitting down with them and really figuring out like what direction do you want to head in, it's like, cool, we can go with that. Now, the direction that Phoenix is flying in is something that can be variable. The direction that we take the tail feathers, because I'm going to be doing a cover up, it's like, okay, where would be the most logical place to use as a cover up?
Mhm.
Should I put it in the wings? Should I use the tail feathers to cover it? Where's going to have enough motion to really break that image apart? So that way the eye is completely and totally distracted from what's underneath of it. So these are all little things that, all come up with a possible solution, make sure it's good with them, get their okay on whether or not to proceed, or, have them turn around and say, maybe I wanted it flying down as opposed to up.
Mhm.
Okay, cool. Well, now I didn't just waste 6 hours drawing out a Phoenix flying up, and I've run into that a couple of times, believe it or not. But, that's just part of my own process. That's the way that I do things. And I'm always looking for ways to improve what I do. It's, I think a lot of it ultimately depends on your clientele, what they're looking for, what you can provide to them, and what works best for you. A lot of it does come down to the individual and how they personally prefer to operate. I like to stay up the night before an appointment and, really tweak that drawing one last time, really finalize everything, really make sure everything is exactly the way that I want it to be, because I'm a night owl. I stay up super late just about every night. I'm not one of those people that wakes up at 3 o'clock in the morning and, goes and lifts and then has a first breakfast at 5 and then, decides to do second breakfast at 9, which technically I guess you could consider to be lunch. That's not the way that I operate best. When I get an idea in my head, if I go to sleep to wake up early, that idea is gone. If I don't put it down on paper, if I don't flesh it out, if I don't, sit down and really start working it to completion, or at least partial completion, where I can pick back up that same train of thought, it's gone and it's not coming back. But I
One
also know
advantage
that.
to, yeah, working at night is there's fewer interruptions.
Yeah. Oh,
People
I
aren't
love
generally
that.
messaging you or emailing you at 3 a.m, so got some quiet time to work.
I also like shopping at night too, like going to like Walmart at like 1 a.m. when no one else is there except for the people stocking the shelves.
Yeah,
Oh,
that is amazing.
it's the greatest.
It is.
So down here, there's not a time that Walmart isn't pretty much full.
Really?
Yeah, you can rarely between like 2 and 4, maybe,
Oh,
but
well, that
that's
makes
about
sense.
it.
Dang.
It's kind of like the pubs over in England. There's never a time when they are not packed.
Right.
I've seen them packed at 10 a.m. I
Holy
was like,
shit.
damn, you guys are hardcore.
Jeez.
Like, I don't even drink that early.
When do you work?
Well, believe it or not, a lot of times they'll go and have work meetings in pubs.
Oh man.
Yeah, tell me about it. Oh God, Ricardo's here. Everyone, shh.
Hello, Jason. How's it going? How's
Hi,
it going, everyone?
Ricardo. I
Okay,
swear we
heard
weren't
you
talking about you.
his workout schedule.
Mine?
That was not specifically directed at Ricardo.
At his
It's-
2 breakfasts.
Mine is early AM.
No, we
About
were talking
4.
about, understanding process and acknowledging what works best for us,
Oh, yeah, yeah. Okay. That's a good one.
right?
Really good.
Ricardo knows for a fact I am not conscious of what I'm doing or saying before 9 a.m. I'm in a coma until 9 a.m. at the earliest.
Yeah, that's true. I think that you have a lot of alarms that go off all the time too, and like just repeat themselves. It's like this alarm's supposed to wake me up for the next 15 minutes. Do I know that in the next 15 minutes there's gonna be another alarm going off, and then the next 15 minutes after that, then 30 minutes, and then an hour, and then you
Actually,
wake up.
they're all set at
Same
10-minute
here.
intervals.
That
They're
10
all
minutes.
set at 10 minutes. 10 minutes, man.
I knew it.
There's a different song every 10 minutes for about an hour when I wake up.
I knew it. I gotta plug in my iPad. Let's see here. Let me find a place I can plug in. I might have to draw on paper today. Oh my God.
Well, that brings us back to the first topic of discussion today.
Different mediums.
Yep.
Yep.
Ricardo's one of those people that always inspires me. He'll turn around and he'll be like, yeah, I just banged out this charcoal drawing earlier today, and it's like flawless.
Oh
Nice.
man.
And he's like, yeah, I still got like another couple hours to work on it. And I'm like, where? How could that be better?
I appreciate that, dude. You know what I think I'm gonna do? I've been doing this little painting for Christmas. Check this out. I'll show you guys real fast. There you go.
Oh, nice.
Oh, heck yeah.
Aw,
Yeah, little Rudolph.
hell yeah, man.
Yeah,
Is that acrylics, oils?
acrylics.
Oh,
Acrylics.
Did you use a lot of dry brush in that?
No, I actually used the painting medium, that medium that we've been talking about. What was it called? It's
The
the
glazing medium?
lazy medium. Yes, yes. That's the one that I've been using. So here, I'll show you where I used it. So far, I'm using pretty cheap acrylics for it, just like some stuff you can buy at Hobby Lobby and everything like that, which is fine. But I used it, as you can see, let me get a little closer, where it's a little more shiny right now.
Hmm.
Where the light catches
Yeah.
the higher reflection. That's kind of where I've used it so far. And like all I've done is went through with a yellow ochre and painted the entire thing yellow ochre, like the whole shape, the eyes, everything. And then I started going in with like a reddish brown,
Right.
and then went through over the whole thing in that reddish brown, and then added some whites in certain areas to that reddish brown, and then added some darks back to the red brown, and then like started kind of laying in those darker shapes for the shadows.
I was
And
just
went-
going to ask you, what are you using for your darks? Are you just going with black, or are you going purple, maybe a dark green?
with this one, I'm doing some blacks. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I think I'm gonna start introducing some different kind of tonal values like that. Some features like that. Once this thing is all done, like I'm really trying to get this glow to kind of come out of this so far, and then I'll start introducing those other values that are kind of reflecting from the background and stuff too. But maybe like here on the belly, the underside of the belly, so you can see that separation between the ground and him.
Right.
But I'm trying my best to kind of capture like that stop animation style, like that the way
That
it looks.
red glow.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So
Yeah, dude.
it's fun. It's cartoony. It's simple. You know what I mean? So, but it's fun.
hell yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty good. But yeah, you can still see like there's a lot of like dirtiness or like kind of like strays from the like brush that I'm using, where it's like all beat up.
And you're using what, like a 3-inch wide bristle brush for that?
Yeah, pretty much. a flat 3-inch wide bristle brush. Yeah,
Yeah,
just
you know, the kind that you use to paint a wall.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's your detail brush.
That's my detail brush. Yeah.
We always make fun of Ricardo for that because he always uses like the biggest flat brush he can find, and he'll pull off some incredible stuff with it, right? And he'll be like, no, 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 we just take these few little bristles at the corner. That's what we're going to use to make these eyes. And he'll just like caress this eye in there with the corner of this huge brush. And it's like, dude, it's amazing what you can do with such a massive brush, dude. It really is.
I appreciate it. It's fun. It's been a lot of fun, dude. Yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah. I'll be right back. I'm gonna go grab that glazing medium real quick.
Cool. Yeah, Ricardo is known for like his big square brushes. And the bigger, the better, in his opinion. He's like, yeah, I want to be able to rough it all in real quick. It's like,
Yeah,
makes sense, you know, but if you're using like a 4-inch wide brush, one little stroke and it's all roughed in, right? But you know, he's got his techniques and his processes that are actually really, really awesome. And he's actually taught me a lot about how he paints, what he does, why he does it. You know, I've been learning a lot from him as far as that's concerned. You know, and we just became friends about a year ago. You know, all thanks to this Reinventing the Tattoo group.
Yeah.
that is cool.
Yeah.
I
He
can't
heard me
believe that.
talking about the golden ratio and the golden spiral in fine art the one day, and he's like, oh, I got to jump in on this conversation. And he did, and we just kind of hit it off.
Nice.
For sure.
He's not coming in today.
Oh, why not? Because painting class?
No.
For what? Still? Yeah, you texted me this morning.
You know, I will not.
Oh.
Is your painting coming atomic?
I'm about to make a mess of myself with it. I have a tendency with these small things to pick them up, grab them, try to stretch them while I'm working. I'm not very happy with the background, but you can see it now.
Right on.
It's coming along, but I've still got a ways to go.
And that's in oil.
Yeah.
So the one thing I like about oil, I love the value you have in there and the separation between those petals, man.
I appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun.
The one thing I love about oil is that if you set it aside for a day or two and you let it fully dry, when you go back into it and you do another layer over top of it, you can get all of those super tiny little subtleties
Right.
that otherwise you wouldn't be able to achieve if it was, you know, done super quick. You know, don't be afraid to set it down, pick up, you know, start another one, you know, and then go back to that one later.
Yep, I keep doing that.
Yeah, I've got 2 different oil paintings, a watercolor and a big ass acrylic. And I'm in the middle of doing all of them.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got a handful of these, like 8x8s. And then I've got a couple of little 4x4s and just stuff I've been playing with, hopping back and forth between them all. This has just been my favorite one.
Yeah, I'm working on 2 6x12s, like 6-inch by 12-inch panels.
Yeah.
And then the watercolor is also 6x12. And the acrylic painting is 3 foot by 6 foot.
Yeah, when Ricardo was talking the other day about doing the smaller stuff and trying to really like refine small brush details. It's stuck to me, so that's what I've been trying to play with.
Yep. I will say this though, trying to find a bristle brush or 2 or 4 that are small enough to use for smaller oil paintings is really tricky.
Yeah.
Like it's difficult, man. Like I've been shopping around for some really good small detail oil brushes. I have not found very many at all.
So I purposely kind of messed a couple of them up. You can let me find the camera.
Yeah.
This one I would say is about the size of a 27 mag, and I just kind of clipped it both ways
Yep.
to make it where it had the curves that I wanted. This one I sat in lacquer overnight and then dipped super glue on, and then
Interesting.
cut it down with a razor blade so that I could use it as a scraper.
Oh, very nice.
And I really like playing with it and find little spots, because I'll just kind of, like Ricardo said, turn it sideways to that little flat spot and almost use it like a razor knife.
Right?
Yeah, it's always good to remember to turn the brushes like that sometimes, you know what I mean? Like Jason was talking about jokingly about the size of the brushes, and I enjoy using the same flat brush for everything. I like the magic sometimes that kind of happens unintentionally whenever you're kind of just controlling the stroke of the paint that's getting put down on top of the canvas. You know what I mean? A lot of times there's these little nuances that you didn't even intend that you sit back and look at, and it captures so much more like life to it for me. You know,
Yeah.
like whenever you go to the art museums and you see all these masterful paintings and you step up on it, you get as close as you can to it, and you just see all those strokes, and like, man, it's crazy. You know, it looks so real from so far away, and then the closer you get, the more life is actually in all those little nuanced areas that like bring it to our reality, you know?
Yeah.
I love seeing those marks that show a human being made this.
Yes.
Right.
Sometimes you're looking at it from a distance and being like, these are by gods. Like they're so beautiful.
Exactly. Exactly.
No, and I think there's something to be said for that, the character of the stroke itself. You know, I mean, you can tell when you look at some of the impressionist works, like some of the Manets and Monets that are just very impasto, very, you know, deliberate brush strokes and dabs on canvas just to capture a shape or a light, you know. And then you look at other artists like Caravaggio with his large flat brushes and how he'll paint in drapery, but the brush strokes are so broad that you can follow almost the grooves in the paint as contour lines to move your eye around that piece of cloth.
Exactly. And it almost like helps with that flow too, you know?
Oh, absolutely.
It's like an intentional plan or something like that.
Sorry, what was that? You just cut out a little bit.
So it's almost like they planned it or something. I don't know, man.
Oh, yeah, dude. Well, I mean, I think a lot of that isn't necessarily planned. I don't think it's intentional. I think a lot of it's just very, you know, okay, well, I'm going to keep this area loose and this area tight. And that's going to force people to look at this area over this area.
Yeah.
You know, they knew all of that stuff before, you know, we as an art society ever came to understand it. You know, but I don't know if it was intentional. I mean, we would have to ask them about that, but
I think there's something wrong with that picture. I don't know if we'll be able to ask them anymore.
well, yeah. I mean, I'm sure we could find like a psychic somewhere that could channel Caravaggio.
Yeah, oh, that'd be amazing.
I mean, it would probably cost us $19.99 a minute, you know, to talk to him on the phone, but
Right, right. Yes, sir. So how's everybody's Sunday going?
Sunday fun day. I'm going to be packing a little bit later today for a trip.
Where you
So,
headed to?
I'm actually heading down to Florida for the holidays
Oh yeah, that's right. That's awesome,
to
man.
go
Good to
and
hear.
visit my parents that live down there, and it should be a great time. I'm gonna go see
Nice.
them. I'm gonna get to see my godparents, both of which are artists that I have learned a tremendous amount from.
Nice.
Terry and Ed, by the way, if you guys are listening in, wanted to say hi, what's up, and I can't wait to see you guys. But yeah, I've learned a tremendous amount from them about art, about marketing, about life in general. They used to run a photography and graphic art business, their own business. Small business. It wasn't anything crazy. It wasn't anything huge. But they did all right, and they've learned a lot of things through trial and error, and I'm trying to capitalize on some of the things that they've learned over time.
So the magic's at, man, that trial and error stuff.
And there's something to be said from learning through experience, for sure.
Let's see here. So I've seen this movie a few times, but I just watched Coco again last night. You guys seen that movie?
I don't
hear
think I
me?
have. Is that Pixar?
Yeah, Pixar. Yeah. It's a pretty good movie. I love those movies. The way that they involve like a lot of the culture and some of like the little details and stuff like that, like with the sets and the coloring of the feel of the movie. That one's a really good one.
Is Coco the one with Ernesto de la Cruz?
I think, yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
Okay. Dope. Yeah, I
Yeah.
have seen it. I love that movie. That's
It's a
amazing.
good, yeah, it's a great one, man. I was like, I'm not crying, it's just my allergies.
No, I'll cry without shame during any Pixar movie. I'm a blubbering
Dude.
mess.
Yeah, like every single one, right? Like,
I can't see him in the theater. It's gross.
Where you
Yeah, just
show up
hear
with
it in
your
the
own box
distance.
of tissues.
yeah, exactly. That beginning of Up, man, I don't watch the beginning
Oh,
of it
dude,
anymore.
no. You fast forward through that bit, man.
Exactly, dude, exactly. It's like, no, damn it. So I'm actually pretty excited about tomorrow for work with my tattoo that I have for an appointment. Tomorrow will be the last day that I work for the week with the holidays and everything like that. So I'm pretty stoked to take some time off. But one of the pictures that we drew during Guy's class, I'll be tattooing tomorrow.
That's awesome. Are you going to live stream it?
I think I'll see how my client feels about it and see how see where she's at with her comfort, and then kind of go from there. But yeah, I think I'm going to talk to her about it beforehand and see if we can't get the whole thing up on the live stream. I think it'll be fun.
That would be awesome, dude.
It'll take a while too. It's gonna be a pretty involved piece. It's the osprey with the peonies that we did.
Oh yeah, dude.
Yeah, that's gonna be a fun one.
Where can we watch that?
I think I'll probably live stream it on Instagram maybe.
What's your handle?
It's Candor Tattoo, CANDOR Tattoo.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
No, I'm working tomorrow, but I might have some breaks. I'd love to tune in. So.
Yeah, for sure. The cool part is now is like I think you can turn them into reels and stuff like that where they can be rewatched and everything too.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, but I still think that they have a time limit.
Okay. Okay.
So
Maybe I'll
you
just
might
break it
only
up
be
into-
able to create a reel that's like an hour long.
Gotcha.
It's such a shame that you're 12 hours away, dude. I would totally take the day off of work. Well, not that I work tomorrow, but I would totally head up there, set up my cameras if they were, okay with it, and get you on YouTube to live stream it on YouTube. I think that would be amazing.
Maybe I can do that. Maybe I should do that. Maybe I should because I have that digital camera and I have a stand I can use for it. So maybe I can do that. I'll just have to kind of hook it up through my adapter, but I don't know. I'll put a post out there. I'll think about it tonight. Maybe I'll pick your brain a little bit later after the show.
So the one thing you would definitely have to do if that's the direction you wanted to move in for tomorrow is you would want to download and install this program called Magic Lantern. I think I talked to you about it before.
Yeah.
Magic Lantern for a Canon digital camera is like incredible. In the US, all digital SLRs are manufactured with an automatic timeout of
Yeah.
about 30 minutes. Otherwise, they have to be classified as video cameras.
Mm,
Something with like FCC regulation and timeouts and all that stuff. But if you install Magic Lantern, it will remove the time limit. Like right now, I'm broadcasting out this camera over my shoulder that you see me pointing at, like the main image. That's coming from my Canon. The only reason why it's still going right now is because I have Magic Lantern installed.
gotcha.
Now, if you have a Nikon digital camera, depending on the model of Nikon, certain models will give you clean HDMI out. So like I've got a Nikon D3200, which is this camera up here, the one in the little thumbnail in the upper left corner. That gives clean HDMI out, but you actually need to create like a little dongle and like cut the wire and then twist two wires together on the dongle in
Oof.
order to get it to keep that shutter open so that it will broadcast the entire time.
Yeah.
But the Nikon has a 24 megapixel sensor, so that's pure 4K that I can stream out. This one's got the main camera, my Canon, doesn't have quite as high of a resolution, but by using the software, you can still get clean HDMI, which means there's no like extra information from the camera on there. There's no time limit on it. You can set it up so that you have all of these additional features that are not generally included with the Canon camera based on their software manufacturing. It's what you really need to have installed if you're going to use a Canon to live stream.
Gotcha. Okay.
And Magic Lantern is free, by the way.
Killer.
It's not like you have to pay anything for it.
And is that one you just install on the memory card?
Yep.
On your
Little SD flash card, load it in, turn the camera on, it'll boot from the flash card, and then it'll run the program in the background as the camera is running.
Yeah, I'd use that to make time lapses to force the. I've got a really old like a Canon 60D to get it to do that. I didn't know the FCC had any say in like how long.
Yeah.
How long one of those DSLRs can record video. That's funny.
Yep.
Isn't that incredible?
I've tried to use it before without Magic Lantern installed, and it automatically shuts off if you're recording video.
Yeah.
After 30 minutes. It'll time out. And the rumor has it the FCC is involved with that. It's not an established fact, but according to the interwebs that I frequent, different camera websites and stuff like that, apparently it has to do with like the actual classification of the camera. If, however, you buy the camera from a different country, say the UK or Europe, different countries in Asia, and you bring it over from there, there's a pretty good chance it's not going to have that time limit on it.
Oh, that's wild.
Yeah, like if you bought the same kind of Canon camera in the EU that I'm using now, you could record pretty much endlessly video, and it'll just keep the shutter open. But because it was purchased in the US, that's not an option. Yeah, it's really weird the way that works. But yeah, Magic Lantern doesn't damage the camera at all. It's actually a great little piece of software. But I have that going through, I have my Canon and my Nikon both going through capture cards. This cheap little video switcher deck that I picked up from Blackmagic. And I can have up to 4 HDMI inputs. I've got my iPad hooked up to it, so you can see what I'm doing on that. It's pretty cool.
Nice.
Everything goes through there and just they stay on. I just have to remember to turn them off. You know,
Pretty
that's
much.
my big issue is that I don't want to burn that sensor out, you know, too quickly.
Right.
Mhm.
Well, the other thing that I'm using with these paints too is this, I know it's acrylic, but I've been using this watercolor blending medium.
Ooh.
Yeah, with the acrylics, and it actually works out really well, dude. Like you can blend quite a bit of stuff. So you can use acrylics with this as you would with oil when you put like a dark tone and a light tone next to each other in swatches. And you use
Yeah.
this as the blending medium, and you can blend them together pretty effortlessly and pretty smoothly too.
Interesting. I'll have to give
Yeah.
that a shot.
Pretty fun stuff. It helps with the flow of the acrylic as well, because like acrylic tends to want to like, you know, dry up real fast.
Yes, it does.
So like if you use this stuff, but the one thing I will say is that you have to learn to control it, because if you have too much of the liquid on there, it makes the acrylic want to run, and it does take a little bit more time for it to dry, especially if you're painting on top of drier acrylic areas already. If that makes sense. So, but it works out pretty. I like it.
Yeah, the one thing that I'm starting to notice about this panel that I'm working on is that I really honestly don't know if it was ever actually meant for oils.
Oh. Uh-oh. Why is
I
that?
don't know.
Well, I mean, it didn't say it on the packaging or anything that it was meant for it, but I'm like, well, it's a panel and it's got this like weird kind of like gritty, almost plaster like surface to it. It can't be all that bad, right? No,
Uh-oh.
maybe it'll take a little bit more of a layer or something like that. But I find that like if I'm doing a wash, the wash, like you know, taking a little bit of thinner, blocking in an area with a little bit of paint and a thinner just to tint it, like I did the background, it pretty much soaks in to
Really?
the, I don't know if this is like plaster or what, but it will like soak in, which is cool. But like, I'm starting to wonder if that's going to have any kind of a long-term detrimental effect.
Yeah, you mean like the life of the painting, right?
Yeah.
Like cracking and stuff like that and holding up well. Yeah. You know, that's something I never thought about until I took this like oil painting class early last year. And he was saying that, you know, Joseph was saying that the reason you want to paint on wood to begin with is because the idea of, you know, cloth or fabric kind of deteriorating over time, or it's stretching because of heat elements and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. So
Yep.
a lot of people go for the wood and stuff like that for that reason. So man, I don't know, dude. I think, what is it? What do you remember the finish that it said it had on it, or is it just the material itself? Is it the finish that's making that happen, or is it
Well,
the material?
it is a
itself?
wood panel, but it's a wood panel coated with like this, like, I don't want to call it clay, but it's almost like a plaster in consistency. Think of like drywall spackle,
Yeah. I know exactly what you're saying.
you know, which actually, believe it or not, isn't a very bad surface to paint on at all.
No,
I
dude,
actually
it
really
really isn't.
enjoy painting on it.
Yeah, it's pretty fun.
It's got a little bit of grit to it, but it's almost like it's semi-absorbent,
Mm-hmm.
but it creates a very nice, very hard surface to paint on.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That was some of my my first artwork that I ever did, was using a spackle knife, like one of the big like 6-inch wide spackle knives at Home Depot.
Yeah.
I used that and just did some like abstract stuff on I took like an old cheap canvas, spread some basically like drywall putty or like grout over top of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, painted on top of that using acrylics, and I don't know, I loved it. I thought it was like a really great different type of surface to work on.
You see a lot of those guys doing some of the drywall art too, man. It's pretty fun to do that. Like they're almost sculpting with like the what is it, the drywall compound?
Spackle.
Spackle, yeah, basically spackle, I guess, right? Yeah, that's always fun too.
Yeah, I like it because I think it's I forget what the active component in it is. I think it's like gypsum or something like that.
Yeah,
But it reminds me a lot of like the old plaster texture that you would see on like ancient Italian like villas and stuff like that that had the frescoes.
right.
So I mean, visually it seems like it has the same type of texture. I
Mhm.
doubt it's the same type of material, but it does to me seem like it has the same type of texture as the old plaster paintings.
Mm.
But if you look at those, 3, 4, 500 years later, and those are cracking and crumbling and
Exactly. Yeah.
really starting to deteriorate. I still like that little bit of a grit that it gives it, though.
I think that it's hard, man. Like I haven't been painting long enough to see my pieces later on down the line. You know what I mean? So I'm excited to kind of like see that. Hopefully, with good intention, be able to see some of those things a little bit later on down the line. But it'd be interesting to see that because I've never really experienced that. Not having like a formal education in art and stuff like that. You know, I would think that you went to art school, Jason. I mean, I would think in a class they would tell you about like the differences between the canvases and stuff like that, and why you want to use the canvases.
Well, so when I went to art school, they did cover a lot of like material science. And we were actually having a discussion about this earlier about how different art schools will teach you different things.
Yeah.
Some are more conceptual, some are far more technique oriented. The one I went to was very material based. So they sat me down and said, listen, you can paint on cardboard, because I was a poor college student, didn't really have money for canvas. So I would just grab like old cardboard boxes and gesso them, but I started out just painting with oils on top of cardboard, and they were like, that is literally going to disintegrate in the next 10 years. You're not. And I'm like, I don't care. I'm just using it for like practice. Like,
Yeah,
exactly.
Doesn't really matter to me if it lasts or not. They were like, okay, well, just to let you know moving forward that if you did want to paint something on cardboard, you would have to like really heavily gesso it, because that gesso is a plastic base, right? By having that kind of a plastic base to prevent things from getting absorbed into that organic material, things that might be toxic or corrosive, such as paint thinner, which at the time, we were using straight mineral spirits. We weren't using Gamsol or, any other type of like non-corrosive thinner. So, it was pretty detrimental stuff. They were like, if you're going to use paint thinner, to flesh stuff out and practice, nothing you do on cardboard is ever going to last. And if it's not going to last, why are you painting it? And that kind of like threw me for a loop at one point. I was like, oh, that's a good point.
Yeah, it's things that you don't take into consideration when you're just like, I just want to paint,
Yeah.
And when you're trying to learn, like, and you feel like you're lost, and like it's the last thing you're thinking about is anything kind of longevity or anything like that too. So I guess it's one of those things where, as beginners, as learners, you want to be able to surround yourself with people that are in that field already, or have already accomplished some kind of things in it. That makes sense.
Well,
dude.
I think it all comes back to the base principle of practice makes permanent, right? So they wanted me to start off with good, solid fundamentals, knowing exactly what to use, how to use it, and how to deal with it, so that way, as I continued painting, it wouldn't ever become an issue. Whereas if you're never taught that in the beginning, I could do a whole series of paintings on cardboard, never knowing that it was going to disintegrate. Now, all of that time I had put into it, is absolutely wasted. You know,
Is it
so
though? I mean,
Well,
as far as
Trying to
like,
give you good practices.
that's what I was gonna say.
it's
As
not
far
that it's
as the life
wasted,
of a
it's that I
tattoo,
have
right?
nothing to
Or
show
the
for it
painting.
except for skills that have been gained,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, I would say it's
But
not wasted. I would just definitely say, like, if your goal was to have a finished painting to show people, and you're like you want it to last and you're gonna sell it for money, then that's a different story. But I think as far as your practice of it, though, I mean that makes even better, more sense that it's not a wasted thing, you know.
yeah.
Mhm.
Well, I mean, this was back when, you know, I was being taught by someone that was very conceptual. So they were like, go out and find some new stuff to paint on. Bring in a tire, like an old tire, something, you know, copper paneling from a roof or something. We'll paint on that and we'll go through that. And it's like,
Found objects.
so yeah, that's when I started bringing in cardboard boxes and cardboard pieces and stuff like that. Yeah, it was found object art.
Yeah.
You know, they were looking for something that wouldn't decompose quite as quickly, like rubber or copper or aluminum, or like, you know, old pieces of like steel plate, you know, from junkyards. Someone brought in a car door from a junkyard and gessoed that and started painting on that. And I was like, damn, that's brilliant.
There's
So
always
that's a
that
good
joke.
point, even if you're using found objects, that you find the right material,
Yes.
like the right kind of cast-offs.
I'm sitting back like, I didn't do this right, did I?
How's that
You know,
joke
but
go? Like if you're
with
stranded on an
conceptual
island.
art, there is no real right or wrong. It's your concept. And of course, I found a way to, like, conceptually speaking, I found a way to justify it. I was like, yes, but that's the whole purpose behind this. This piece is going to decompose. It's not going to be permanent. And because of that, you have to appreciate the temporary nature of it. Right? So it forces you to have a deeper appreciation for that moment. Yeah. I won't ever forget in one of my printmaking classes. And this was something that I think, Ricardo, I've told you this story. I don't know if I've ever told it online before, but there was someone in one of my printmaking classes in college that literally didn't do anything all semester. And it came time for the final project. Like, I never saw them making prints ever. And final project came around and they put up a whole bunch of found photos. They basically went to a thrift store, paid $4, bought a whole bunch of old photographs, pinned the photographs up, put some like cheap yarn, tied them around the pins that were holding the photographs up, you know, and like connected all of the pictures to all of the other ones in a random way. Well, I thought it was random at least. And then presented that as their final project and they aced it. And I was like, you did not do a single print all semester. This is your project and you got an A? I spent 80 hours in here making prints. How did I get a B minus? Right? How is that possible? They were like, I had a really good artist statement as to why I did that. I was like, that's a cop out. That's horseshit.
Yeah, I feel you there, dude. Believe me.
Yeah, agreed.
If all you need is a really good statement explaining why you did something, I should be selling my stuff for millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Again, it's not going to get you a job.
It depends on the place that you go for the job, I guess, right? Like if
I
you're in
suppose, yeah.
if you're surrounded by people that are like into that kind of concept, like, yeah, man, it's totally, I get it, bro. Oh my God.
Whole bunch
Yeah,
of
my
guys
mind.
with
Want a
neck
thing that looks like
beards
a thing.
and
Yeah, not
it
so
just
much.
look for groups of guys that have just neck beards, right? That are drinking espresso out of those super tiny little coffee cups. That's how you know you're around art critics, right?
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, I'll do my best.
There's nothing better than being an art critic for a living. Sometimes I like things and I write it down and it increases that thing's value. Like that's literally all they do. There's a comedian, Daniel Sloss. which if you guys like dark humor, really funny, like very satirical dark humor,
I
you
think
have got. Go ahead.
Nothing is Daniel Sloss the guy who caused something like thousands of divorces?
Yes.
Is that him? Yeah, I heard about
Yes,
that.
that is him. That's what he's probably most well known for. You know, and he's proud of that. He's like, yeah, I gave thousands of kids more than one Christmas every year.
Those are
I'm
not
proud
good
of that.
relationships.
Exactly. You know, and I mean, he has a valid point when he's talking about all this stuff. You know, but he goes on and he starts talking about, you know, being an art critic and different examples of that. And how a lot of times art critics will make things up about a piece because it sounds really important when the artists themselves didn't even notice that they did something.
That's
Mhm.
yeah, that happens a lot with a lot of people's art, though, don't you think? I mean, I can see where you're coming from with it being an art critic in particular, right? Like in specific conversation, you're talking about the art critic itself. But when you look at the art piece itself, some people will see a piece that you were trying to convey an entirely different idea, but they relate to it on a whole nother level and a whole nother like perception of it even.
Mhm.
Is that what you're meaning?
Kind of. But like, say, for example, with this flower that I'm painting, right? Say I ended up with like one random dot of ultramarine blue in the middle of a random petal,
Okay.
right?
Yeah. Okay. I see where you're going.
Well, an
Yeah.
art critic would stand back and say, oh, I see, I see. So if the flower is representational of the world itself and how everything keeps getting, you know, enveloped by all of these different levels of life in the world, we see this blue dot as representing Jason himself as standing out from the crowd as an artist.
I
It's
see
like,
what
no,
you're
I
saying.
just
I
accidentally
agree with you
splashed it
completely.
with blue.
Oh man, I got blue on there. What? Oh
Yeah,
shit.
didn't even notice that. But thank you for pointing it out.
And you go, I'm throwing the whole piece away. They're like, no, 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 no.
Yeah, exactly.
You're like, no, man,
Right?
that
It's like,
sucks.
how can you do that?
Yeah, I don't know, dude. I guess it's dependent upon like, you know, there's that whole industry of like selling art, you know what I mean? So I guess there's some things that you do to make that happen.
You know, I always find it funny when art critics and galleries will put out an artist statement on something like a Banksy painting, right?
Okay.
Because Banksy's known for his street art, right?
Yeah.
And he's creating that art to make a statement about a very specific social issue.
Yeah.
And these art critics and galleries will create statements, like artist statements, detailing what they think he was trying to portray. You know, and he won't ever come out and contradict them, but at the same time, they're not always right.
Sometimes it's almost like that's the point of the piece. You know what I mean?
I can see that.
Yeah. I guess the point of it is to start that whole conversation and to see what happens. And what is art to begin with, right?
It's whatever an artist creates. That is my definition of art.
Which goes back to that what you started off with in your story of your college class, where it was like, yeah, the dude didn't do anything until the very end, and boom, we got an A. You're like, well, okay, I see how this works.
Mhm.
Yep. And then you look at like commercial fields of art, such as tattooing, and it's like, gives you a little bit of a different perspective on art. You know, it's like, we are commissioned artists by nature. We get commissioned for a specific work of art that our client wants, or they just come to us and let us do whatever we want, which is awesome, but can be overwhelming sometimes. You know, but it's like, in general, people that work in street shops are commissioned artists. That is what you do. They are paying you for a specific work of art, you know, that they want you to create specifically for them. You know, which begs the question, at the end of the day, who owns the rights to that?
Oh, that conversation is,
You as the artist that creates it, or them as the patron that paid you to create it for them?
I would think
them
that,
for wearing it.
yeah, exactly. I would think after it's paid for and you know, what you're paid to do, which is like commission an art piece on a person. I think after you're paid, then it is the person that wears it. But until then, until it's it's still a concept, you've drawn it up and you still have done everything to create that. You know, even with a deposit, in my opinion, it's like you've been commissioned to draw a possible tattoo for them. So it still can be yours. But after they've paid for it and you tattooed on it, why isn't it theirs to begin with? Why isn't it theirs? I would say it's theirs for sure.
Yeah, is it like spec work when you're working in advertising? They've paid for the concept, so they own it.
Right. Exactly. That's the question. I mean, I would
That's
think
a
that
good
until you get paid
question.
in full, yeah,
I've never
I would
thought
think
about
that,
that, tattooing.
right. And until you get paid in full, then it's still yours, right?
Well, then you run into issues from different people. For example, look at the artist that did Mike Tyson's tribal tattoo above his eye.
Yeah, this is what kind of brought it up, wasn't it?
This was one of the many situations in which you can sit back and say, well, even though you paid me to do this on you, I'm still the artist that created this.
Right.
This came out of my mind. This was my idea, my thought. You came to me to apply it, you know, but I was the one that created this concept.
Mhm.
So do I technically own the rights to this? Or are you, or is it one of those situations where you have someone that's turning around and saying, well, no, I paid you to create this for me, you know?
Yeah.
So I think it all comes down at the end of the day to who came up with the concept, you know,
That's
who
true.
desired that concept.
That's true. Yeah, that's a good way to look at it too, man. I think you're right, because like until that person came in and even gave you a deposit for anything or sat down and talked with you about their idea, like you never really thought about doing that tattoo.
Right. You know, so that's one way to look at it. But I think it all comes down to intent and who has that initial concept. That's my 2 cents, and I'm sticking to it.
I'd buy that for $1.
Oh God, RoboCop, man, love that
RoboCop.
movie.
RoboCop.
I'd buy that for $1.
I'd buy that for $1.
So now, since the holiday season is upon us, I have to bring up this debate topic and this topic
here we
of
go.
discussion.
Yes, it is a movie. It is a Christmas movie.
You already knew what I was going to say, Ricardo, and that is awesome.
It's yeah. Go ahead. Let's see if I was right.
Die Hard,
Yes.
Christmas movie or not?
Yes, it's a Christmas movie.
Christmas movie. Gremlins.
Yes. Christmas
For sure.
movie. Of course.
Absolutely a Christmas movie.
I didn't even know that one was up for debate. I thought that was just an accepted,
That's just,
Christmas movie.
that's just canon. It's not Christmas adjacent. It's a Christmas movie.
Yeah. No, that's internationally accepted.
I'd buy that for $1. Yeah, no, Die Hard is definitely a Christmas movie, man. Anybody that argues the case, it's like, go watch the movie again, dude. It's set during Christmas.
National
home for
Lampoon's
Christmas,
Christmas
right?
Vacation.
That's a Christmas movie too, yeah.
Straight up Christmas in the title.
Yep.
Exactly. You got to make fists with your feet. Yeah. Klaus is a good one. If you guys haven't seen that, it's on Netflix. Klaus is a good one. Klaus, or how it's pronounced. That was a good one I watched recently.
Is it a happy Christmas movie or?
Yeah, it's pretty happy. I mean, it's pretty fun. There's no like real super like crying moments or anything like that, but it's animated too, so it's fun too. The kid that was in that movie Rushmore, I can never remember his name. He was also in Scott Pilgrim Saves the World as the bad guy. Shoot, can't remember his name. I think he's a drummer for a band The singer for band. What the hell's his name? I'll look it up later. Maybe Jason can. Who knows?
Who's in the movie Klaus?
Yeah. He plays the voice. The kid plays the voice of one of the main characters.
And give me a minute and I will look it up for you.
Norm Macdonald's in it too, for a short second.
What?
Yeah,
Did he pass away this year?
he did.
Good old Norm.
Hans Booby. I'm your white knight. What did he say? I'm your knight in shining
Hans,
armor.
Booby, baby,
Yeah.
let's talk.
Let's talk. Hans Booby. I'm your white knight. It doesn't snow here in Illinois too, knock on wood, in my part of Illinois anyway. So I'm pretty excited about that as well. Everybody's all wanting it to snow and stuff. I'm like, why, dude? Why?
No. Yeah, that's on my to-do list is I actually have to fix my snowblower. Apparently the model snowblower I have has a weird like gas mix issue.
Hmm.
So I have to take a look at that and see if I can't get that back on the right track.
Cool, that sounds dangerous.
Yeah, just make sure it's
It's-
not on.
It's really not. All I have to do is like take apart the carb and then there's a little pin that regulates the fuel air mixture.
Mm.
The
I have
needle.
to take that out,
jet
clean
needle.
that out, and make sure that that's all nice and clear. Once that's done, it should fire right up. Because apparently it's got an issue with it getting clogged. I don't know if the actual like holes in the pin were milled out to the right size or not, but apparently that's the major issue is that they keep getting clogged.
Hmm.
Well, it's plenty snowy out here in Calgary. It's been
Oh,
So
you're
you're up in Calgary?
yeah, I'm in Canada. Yeah, it's
That's awesome. I'm
Oh,
heading up there in March. I'm heading
I
up there in March.
I'm sorry. It's usually pretty cold in March and April, like right through to April.
Oh
So-
man.
I'm hoping you catch it when it's like warmed up a little bit, but everyone's hunkering down here from this point on and wondering why we live here.
Yeah.
It's a
Not happy
great
with
country
this.
otherwise, but dang, it's cold.
What's a typical day during the winter up there, like temperature wise?
You guys do Fahrenheit, right?
Yes.
I think today it's around -17, something like that. So
Oh my gosh.
I'm just gonna convert that.
That's,
I think the low today is -20.
ugh.
And that's in Celsius?
That's in Celsius. So
Okay.
Fahrenheit, that's -20.
That's an incredible -17 in Celsius is what you're saying, right?
Yeah, well, -20 today.
-20. Okay. Ugh.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So that's -4 for you guys.
Ooh,
Yeah,
that's still terrible.
No, that sounds like a whole lot of nope.
No doubt, dude.
That's
I would
not
like to
bad.
make an
It's gonna-
official ruling. That is a nope.
a beautiful country otherwise, but
Yeah.
if you like skiing and snowboarding, it's just fine.
You do that?
Honestly, I'm more obsessed with like Canadian tattooers than skiing and snowboarding. Like I
yeah?
would trek through the tundra just to like move across the Canadian country and get tattooed by all of the people that I admire.
Oh,
Like
that's awesome.
it's you guys are on a whole nother level of like what you can accomplish. It's incredible. Absolutely incredible. I just did a an interview with Chris Dunn from Deadly Tattoos. I believe he's out, you know, roughly around your area.
Yeah, you can order from them. They deliver directly to us in a paper bag. So like,
That's
that's
awesome.
yeah, they're right nearby.
That's incredible.
Now that's service.
It's pretty nice. Who are your favorite Canadian tattooers?
Oh God, where do I start?
Oh yeah. You just go yes.
Well, I mean, yeah, pretty much. Yes. That is my answer. Yes.
Yes.
Steve Moore has always been one of my favorites. Christina Christie, James Tex, Chris Dunn, Anthony Tex is absolutely awesome. There's so many. Just about any one of the guys from it's right outside of Toronto. What's his name now? I want to say Tristan Zhang. No, that doesn't sound right. Hold on. There's let me pull up. Something real quick. Where is this? Let's see. Tony who? He's up in Canada. I think he's in Montreal. Yeah, I love Tony Hu's stuff. His dragons are absolutely awesome. There were a couple other ones too. But yeah, just about anyone that does that like very Canadian illustrative kind of style is like awesome. And I'm always looking for new people, like, and most of them end up coming from Canada. Travis, what's his name? What's his last name? I know he on Instagram, he used to go by Travis666.
I knew Travis 667. Was he the neighbor? The Travis
Probably.
666? Okay, cool.
Travis McGregor. He is in Kitchener, Ontario. I actually bought one of his old Neotats from him. Oh man, they're just a ton of them. But yeah, I'd say those are my primary ones. Just about anyone from Deadly, just about anyone from White Rabbit. Or Black Rabbit, sorry.
You're giving me more
Birdie's
names to
great.
look up.
John Clue's amazing.
John Clue's awesome.
Yeah.
I know that one.
I don't know. I've got a very deep affinity for that like neo trad illustrative style. So
I think for the Neotrab illustrative, Shay Motz is one of my favorites.
Yes. Yes. Almost forgot.
Yeah, she just
Yeah.
moved from Calgary to Edmonton, so I'm gonna have to follow her and get some work from her.
Yeah. I was gonna say I'll race you because like I want to get a piece done by her too.
Yeah, you see when she opens her books and then they close 5 minutes later. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, not even 5. Like
Yeah.
she probably gets 12 million emails and messages the minute she opens her books.
I can't imagine. I can't imagine. But her work's gorgeous.
Oh, it is. That
Yeah.
super high contrast with the
Mhm.
very limited color palette. Mwah.
No, it's
you
super
pull some of
lush.
it up?
It's really glossy. Like, yeah, just
Yeah, I'll pull up her page.
Please do.
Yeah, it's very, very high contrast. Very intricate, but
Mhm.
still very legible, if that makes any sense.
yeah,
Yes.
super clear.
See it from outer space.
Yeah, you can definitely read it across the room.
Let's just look at this rabbit for a minute.
Oh yeah, that's awesome, man.
Yeah, man.
I mean,
Those deep, deep reds, it's just gorgeous.
Look at the level of detail in that fur.
Yeah, the line work
Those are-
definitely creates the contour, right? And I
Yep.
think the first thing that pops out is you guys are talking about the separation, is those like that shadow, dark wash that's kind of put behind the overall shape of the head on that
Yeah.
left side of the head, the top of the crown and stuff like that. Like you can definitely see how it separates everything from the background, even though it's almost on the same value as everything else around it too. The same value
I love
scale.
the way she utilizes priority and her color temperature as well. Because if you look at these opaque grays, they almost have a coolish tint. When you add in some of these subtle warm tones, it really forces your eye to look at some of those warmer areas. And that's balanced out by this huge area of cool surrounding it.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, and then as we scroll down, you can see where she uses some of those same like washy tones to really wash out some of the rest of it, to really force your eye to look exactly where she wants you to look.
Like a spotlight.
Bingo. You know, this one's probably one of my favorites. This tiny little bee.
Oh yeah, that's awesome, dude.
From those subtle white highlights and that off-tone drab green to the point that you can really, your eye can literally tell that stem is going behind that wing, right?
Mhm.
Continuing that shape down so that your eye doesn't break that up and say, okay, this is stem, this is bud of flower. It will show you and bring your eye all the way around, leading from here all the way up.
Mhm.
You know, those muted yellows that are in there as well, absolutely on point. And just a dusting of white highlights.
Just a dash. Just the dash. Yeah, I like the
No,
color
every
blends
time-
too.
Every time she shows up on my feed, I make a noise. Like, it doesn't matter where I am. I'll just, it's
Yeah, I know, right?
so good.
My noise is usually I quit. I'm done.
Yeah, for me, it's one of those, damn it.
Yeah.
Mine is just like all the blood has left my stomach. Like it just,
Yes, exactly.
It's so good.
Oh, yeah.
Look at the way that little what is that? That little berry down there turns in. Oh no, okay. I'm sorry. Never mind.
Yeah.
That is pretty cool how it turns. The shape on those spheres that she created with like that simple amount of like purple and magenta, red. The separation is pretty cool. The way she pushes them back and then brings them forward with the different values of like warmth out of those colors, the same colors.
Yeah.
Like high intensity versus like low intensity kind of thing. It's pretty awesome.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
I also love the way that she adds just this little like splash of like gray wash underneath
Mhm.
the main focal point, just to wash that out and tone down the surrounding skin, to really
Mhm.
allow some of those lighter values to really come forward more, so that it's not going to compete with the white highlights that she puts in.
Right.
Very nice.
Very cool, man.
Love this flamingo too.
Yeah, that's pretty
Yeah.
awesome.
Once again, those opaque grays and those subtle warm tones, beautiful.
Yeah, it's in there.
This is just some of the detail work.
Little three-eyed possum.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the subject matter is awesome. Like,
Yeah.
It's almost like those old watercolors meet new school tattooing. You know those old like flower watercolors that you see a lot of, like they're almost like field paintings even.
Yeah, the botanical illustrations.
The botanical
Yeah.
illustrations, right? It has that
Yeah.
feel of like botanical illustration versus new school tattooing.
Right?
yeah,
Gorgeous, gorgeous work. Oh, look at this fish. And I thought I could tattoo fish. This is on a whole new level.
yeah,
That's pretty awesome.
yeah, that was wild.
Yeah, those little nods of white on those like higher areas of that form. But all those muted tones around it that make it just stand out that much more. Like, and the way they kind of cascade forward on top of the form, you know what I mean?
The
Yeah.
back to the-
smooth too. I can't believe that's a tattoo. Like, it's
I like the control of the gray values and the little facets, all those little facets of the texture up by the forehead and stuff like that too, and the nostril and the lips.
mhm.
That's pretty cool. And I like the control of like on the contour of the eyelid that's closest to us, and even on the back. But the one on the back is much more subtle, but the one on the front is like there's a little variations there, so it's pretty cool. And it doesn't clutter your eye either. It doesn't like draw you straight to it. You kind of like fall into the highlighted area first and then fall into those little details. It's pretty crazy.
I think that's what I really like the most about her work, is the fact that it reads well when you really zoom in.
Yeah.
And then again, as you really take like a much further back look at it, it
Yeah.
reads well both from a distance and extremely close up.
Yeah, successful on all those levels.
You're right. Yeah, like it doesn't look like it's just an odd shape on the part of the body. But Jason, I talk about this a lot, but you can see those intersecting angles on that piece especially are super obvious. The ones
Oh,
that I
yeah.
always talk about, making those like those diamonds and those triangles, you know what I mean?
Yep.
I always try to follow any design that I make under that formula, and this one is super efficient at explaining that works, you know.
I'd also like to point out a another concept that gets brought up a lot, and that's graduation,
Yeah.
repetition and graduation. And this is just something that I just kind of keyed into a second ago. But look at, you have a large sphere,
Mm-hmm.
you have a smaller sphere, and then you have a smallest sphere,
And how
all
many of those are
moving in an arc to
Yeah.
naturally draw your eye up.
Yep.
So you
Yeah.
still have that repetition, but you also have that graduation from large to small, or
There's
even,
also that rule of threes too. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
very well done.
Yeah. Super good.
You know, but I mean, even some of the more subtle work, right? Like, you know,
Yeah.
just looking at some of the detail that was achieved here, very graphic, but it's still very, very strong image.
I'm
Mhm.
always so nervous to do just straight color line work like that. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of stuff around it surrounding it, like that heron or that bird, you know, and it's awesome. It looks great. But my fear has always been like just doing straight color line work like that and color work without a lot of dark or contrasting dark around it. How well is it going to hold up? You know what I mean? Like that's always been my concern. Like the picture looks great. This tattoo is amazing. But that's always been I've always been so fearful of just doing just that by itself, you know?
Well, I think if it's done correctly and if it's done strong enough and prominent enough, It should last a really long time. And that's
Yeah.
one thing that when I got a chance to talk to Christina Christie about some of the work that she does, it's one thing that, I brought up and I was picking her brain about. And she's like, yeah, as long as those lines are in there, those lines are going to hold far longer than the rest of the color that's put in with a mag over top of it. So it's still going to read well 50 to 60 years down the road just from those contour color lines.
Yeah.
So that's just going to add to the whole piece.
Hmm.
And I'll pull up some of her work in just a second.
Can you pull up that deer real quick before you go? Yes, that one. Oh, that's awesome.
Very soft.
Well, it's super soft, but look at the shift in planes on the shape of the face, and even
Yeah.
on the even on those forefronts of like the hooves and stuff too. You know what I mean? And like, it's so cool how it's just contrasting tones and a little bit of like real delicate thin lines. You know what I mean? And it helps carry those forms over. And then I love that graduation right there, that color of those dark brown, reddish browns into that, like, what is it, like a olive umber in the middle part of the eyes or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really cool. And you can see it in the cheek down by the bottom of the eye too. Very well done. And then that gray next to it is awesome. And again, those intersecting angles, man.
Very effective use of opaque gray.
Yeah.
But let's pull up some of Christina Christie's work. I always like to show off her stuff. I'm just absolutely enthralled with what she does.
Oh man.
No, she's pretty good, dude. It's pretty awesome the way she blends those tones.
Mhm.
Look at that.
Love all those
It's so
contour
simple.
lines too.
Look how closely related those two tones are together too, and how separated they still are, dude.
Yep.
Man, that's crazy. I would like be so scared to do that. Look at that. But you can see the cooler values in the fingers and stuff too, though, like underneath the knuckles.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I mean, you have saturated versus, you've got your more pure, say, Payne's gray tone.
Mhm.
And then you have a tint of that, which looks like a very similar tone, only mixed with a little bit more white,
Right.
just to create that very subtle shift.
Mhm.
But then you have the play off of the cools versus the warms in the background, which
Yeah.
is actually really tricky to pull off.
Yeah.
But I mean, looking at contour lines, like that is just
That's
on
sick.
another level.
That's pretty incredible, man. Yeah, those lines, those little lines and how they complement those forms of the cheek and stuff, dude. Pretty cool.
Yeah, it's like a topographical map.
Yeah,
Pretty much.
exactly.
Super cool.
And then the way she just washes the color from like darker to lighter too for the higher planes and stuff. Pretty radical. Yeah, that painting of that mermaid.
I was
Oof.
going to say this one's, very simplistic. It doesn't quite have quite as many contour lines, but looking at her play off of color, warm versus cool, and how she'll graduate from super warm all the way into very cool, all in the same plane is to me just very, very impressive.
Yeah, for sure. There's that negative line that you like too.
Yep. I don't know why. I just find myself drawn to that kind of stuff.
What do you mean by the negative line? Is it like the outline rounded?
Yeah.
that
So if
skin
you
tone
look
that
carefully,
Yeah.
Yeah, it helps separate.
That is
Yep.
very cool. Yeah.
yeah, it creates that separation between different elements within a piece. It's one of the many stages of what's known as the windmill effect,
Yeah.
which Guy actually went over in one of his Monday night classes not too long ago, where if you look at, say you've got 4 blades of a windmill, and Rembrandt, let me actually see, I might be able to pull that up, but Rembrandt was the one that really kind of illustrated this the best. You typically want to have separation between elements in order to help it read well, unless you want to show true depth, in which case you're going to have certain elements that roll back and go right up to the edge without that separation to help them blend more with certain areas. Perfect example is look at this hand, right?
Yeah.
And then look at this face and look at the negative line around that and how that's going to stand out much closer to the viewer than if that were to be brought up right next to that face.
Right.
So this is going to blend back a little bit more, and it's going to force your perspective and force that eye to know that that's sitting further back than this face. And
Yeah.
same thing, if you look at the distance here of this negative line compared to this negative line on this arm,
Yeah.
which we really want to stand forward in the foreground, we're going to give that a much larger negative line to really push that forward. That in complement to this really bold exterior outline really pushes that to the foreground and really forces everything else to be far more subtle in the background.
That's super
Ye-
graphic.
Also,
Yes.
if you look at the hand is one of the only places where you'll actually see true black,
Yeah. it
right?
just
That
jumps right out.
immediately creates that contrast that forces that more into the foreground.
Mhm.
Not only that, but the surrounding area, how light, how much more opposite of that dark is that yellow and that orange and stuff. You know what I mean?
Right.
Mhm.
Like as far as its intensity goes, like black being the darkest dark there is there, and then yellow being almost like more towards the white end of the spectrum as far as the value goes. It's pretty awesome. You see it a lot in a lot of traditional Japanese tattooing too.
Yes, you
Mm.
do.
That haloed kind of look. And it follows the formula of that 50-50 color versus dark wash and stuff like that too, you know, so that's pretty awesome. And it helps separate quite a bit.
Yeah, and you see that in a lot of different artist pieces, specifically in Canada, believe it or not.
Pull
Let's
up,
look at,
how about you pull up Tim Beedrin real quick?
oh, okay. I was going to pull up Chris Dunn, but
Oh yeah, go for it, dude. I'm sorry, man. It's just, I've seen her hands and it kind of reminded me of some of the stuff that Beedrin does too.
yeah, if you look at a lot of like Chris Dunn's work, it's very, very prominent in a lot of what he does. You know, like
Yeah. Yeah, there
he'll
you
take
go.
that background tone and he'll bring that right into the negative line to
Mhm.
create the separation in shapes to push certain things forward and force other aspects further back.
Yeah.
You know, like this blends a little bit more, but it still has a little bit of that blue haze. But we can tell that this beak is standing out in front of the neck because of this very, very light, almost white blue line around the beak of the swan. And then you see that again coming back here to help separate out this area from these feathers.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of many tiny little tricks that you see a lot of different artists using all the time. You know, same thing here. Look at the top of the toad. And a lot of times it's just very, very subtle,
Mhm.
you know, almost to the point that your eye wouldn't perceive it. But I mean, down here, look at the finger. Your eye might not perceive it, but it's there. Or you can go with like a darker tone underneath, you know, to really force a lighter area forward. So you can notice that here, in between all of the fingers, anywhere where you have a very prominent super dark line against a dark background, that's usually where you're going to see it the most. But it's very helpful for separation of objects and shapes. Look at around the coin, on the top of the head, underneath this coin, right along this edge.
Yeah, that is cool.
And then you even see a slight little halo of it coming around the eye of the toad here.
And it's a super dynamic rendition of that like good luck or that good fortune image too.
Absolutely.
I think that's the other thing that, you know, you got to kind of take an appreciation with a lot of these kinds of artists, these illustrative artists, is that the designs are to begin with, the line drawings are super dynamic, and they're very like, you know, as far as proportions go, they're blown out of proportion quite a bit. The angle of the viewer is kind of like forced into this like bubble lens almost sometimes, but like it's radical because just the line drawing itself can almost be a complete image all on its own.
Yep.
Mhm.
And then once you start throwing in the colors and the values and stuff like that, it just like accentuates it that much more. But I think that's why the color is so effective in the way you use it, where you normally would use it as the study of the plane, right? Like to form the plane. This is already the contour lines and everything like that already help establish that shape and that placement and the proportions. Even though they're out not correct, they're still like true to themselves. So it works really well.
I pulled up Tim Biedron as well, man.
Yeah, his stuff is crazy, dude. So
Let's look at
I
this Raven.
think him and John Clue used to work together a long time ago. Yeah, his
You
ink
can
drawings are just
definitely see some of the John Clue influence regardless.
yeah. Like his drawings are getting crazier and crazier, like way, way more and more detailed all the time. That's incredible.
I love this very subtle cast shadow.
Mm-hmm.
But once again, as far as that negative line is concerned, you can see that being used here to separate the wing from the rest of the body in the root system.
Mhm.
Yep. Yeah, you can almost see the opposite of that, even on the front of the neck of the crow, and then onto his chest, the way that those dark curves and little hairlines kind of contrast against that like white background against it, you know. It's not as
Absolutely.
sharp. It's not as sharp as that line that you're talking about, but it's definitely the same kind of effect, except for it's negative and positive versus positive and negative. Oh, look at that little cicada down there too. That's awesome.
Yeah.
You see the way that there's more.
That's cool.
Who was it that I brought up the other day that I thought was really yeah, this is the guy. So you can use it on the outside or the inside, as Ricardo and I were talking about. A good example of that is I'm not even going to begin to pronounce the last name. Schoenberger, Berger. I don't know. But this is the one shark piece that Ricardo and I were talking about the other day. If you
Oh,
look carefully on this, you can see that there's a negative line, but it's on the inside of a black line,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So that's going to help create that separation regardless of where that external line is. It's going to help create that separation between your darker tones.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. Even the top of the fin and the way it creates that windmill effect, like you were talking about too. That
Yeah.
like staggered separation. So there's a clear, definite like foreground and background and midground, right?
Yep.
Even
That's
though it's
where we
almost
were
like-
talking about with these waves before, how you have your definitive foreground, middle ground, background.
right.
You have your triple layer separation. Yeah, look at how bold that is.
Yeah. And that fit is incredible.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
it
dude.
really moves your eye throughout the
It
entire
really
piece.
does.
That's a great piece. The flow, the fit. That's like, man, it's
Yeah, it's-
perfect. It's perfect.
Yeah.
There's so much rhythm in it, dude. Like the waves,
Mhm.
like the tops of the fingers and stuff like that on the waves. They're all almost threes, right? That
Yep.
dark to medium to light wash. You know, like look how much more dark the contrast is in the background everywhere. There's like dark and medium tone throughout the entire piece, and then there's a light wash for the waves, and then this really light wash for the shark itself. Because you can tell it's going to heal out really light because of all that like magenta kind of look, and then that same value is almost in those waves that come across the bottom of the belly of the shark too, even.
Yep. How
But
it's almost left pure flesh tone with just a line drawing to create that effect.
Yeah, the gradation, you know,
Yep.
it's all smooth, it's all butter, dude. Like man,
Yeah.
great piece. Great piece.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I
Super.
guess you pick up a few tricks when you work with Philippe Lou a lot. So
I would say yes. Philippe Lou, man, that guy. Ugh,
absolutely incredible, man.
yeah.
Well, I
Well,
gotta wrap it
guys.
up here, guys. I gotta get to work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm probably going to be signing off in just a minute as well.
I was
Well,
just about
thanks
to
for
say the
letting me
same thing.
drop in.
Yeah, no problem.
Oh, it's
I'm going to
incredible.
spotlight you for a minute. Why don't you tell us how people can get a hold of you?
Oh, sure. I'm Elisa Shigehiro. I'm Spinster Tattoo on Instagram. I'm at Atticus in Calgary. And yeah, I'm hoping to drop in on another one of these like next week. So thanks so much.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Thank you for jumping in today. Really appreciate it.
Good to meet you. Have a good one.
Likewise. Take care. And Ricardo,
Yeah, take it easy.
you're going to
Yes,
tell us how
sir.
we can get a
That's
hold of
me.
you and give us a sign off, or are you
my-
just going to Irish goodbye
Yeah.
us?
No. I'm gonna say goodbye. My name is Ricardo Servant. You can reach me at Candor Tattoo. That's CANDORTATTOO on Instagram. Feel free to message me or drop a line, say what's up. And you can reach me on Reinventing the Tattoo under Ricardo Servant. And don't forget to drop in on Tuesday mornings at 10 a.m. Eastern so we can talk about life, art, and go over some drawing principles and fundamentals. And Jason usually pops in, which is always a pleasure. And we usually have some pretty decent conversations on there. So. And if there's anything you guys want to talk about, let us know. Peace.
Thanks a lot, man.
Yeah.
And yeah, so thank you very much, everyone, for tuning in today. It's been a lot of fun. We do this every Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern time. So feel free to tune in next week. Also, if you enjoyed today's session, make sure to like and subscribe. As always, big thank you to Guy Aitchison, Gabe Ripley, Lauren Gregory, Jake for, knowledge and all that stuff. Thank you, Ricardo, for jumping in. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in and watching us today. Really appreciate it, and hope to see you next week.
Peace. See you later, man.
Take care, bud.